Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night, March 5th. Wow, it's the beginning of March. Um, I'm not feeling real well today, so um, but I wanted to talk with you guys about a bunch of things within the group. I get messages and things throughout the week, and so sometimes I can't reply back. Uh, Going through a lot of changes on the page, to be honest. There's a lot happening. Um, I need to update some rules. Need to update a lot of things. My admins, my moderators, David Lesjak, Danny DeMeyer, Debbie Weiss, Vicky Hembry, Matt Crandall, Gus Rodriguez, Steve Spain. Thank you guys for all you do. You keep it free of weird things that pop up on the messaging and the 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 group and things that shouldn't be there. So thank you for that. I want to talk to you guys about Theme Park Watch. If you haven't heard of it, look it up. Theme Park Watch is it's Peter Andrews' group. It's about a virtual stash, and they want to work with us regarding that. Do you guys know what a virtual stash is? Have you guys heard of it? So let me. He gave me this and I wanted to kind of read it a little bit because it's a pretty neat concept. It's a pretty neat idea to use when you're at Disneyland, downtown Disney World, all over. Virtual stash is a hidden prize that users can find based on their specific geolocation using the Theme Park Watch app. Virtual stashes can be unlocked, one, with trivia questions, puzzles, scavenger hunts, clues to other park locations, and more. Any prizes found will be mailed to the winner or emailed if it's a gift card. Your phone's location services must be enabled and permission given to find virtual stashes. So he's got a virtual stash coming up. There's a $400, carving, and it's amazing. So there's some amazing things. We talked about it today, and what happens is, if you're in downtown Disney, when you're walking by a store, it'll pop up and let you know that there's a discount on this or a discount on that. So it's a pretty neat app idea. I know a lot of people miss out on a lot of things because you didn't know you could get something, because you didn't know, you'll get somewhere and there's a line and you're wondering, what are they getting? Well, now if you use About Theme Park Watch, you can get this app and it'll let you know things that are at the Disneyland or Disney World or wherever it's going to be. Terry Harden Jackson, her husband Lindsay, and Danny DeMeyer and myself, we're going to be at the El Capitan Theater March 16th, watching Rob Richards play his organ for Mary Poppins. And I was talking to him, and he said that he will put a stash there at the El Capitan Theater. Well, what it also can do is give you facts and things of that nature. So it's a really cool app. There's a lot of things that he's growing with, and we want to work with him on that. So there's a lot of cool, fun prizes. It helps users visualize important information to plan and enjoy their theme park getaways. Our theme park assistant offers real-time monitoring and alerts to assistant park goers with wayfinding, restaurant, bar, service locations, and secret stashes and scavenger hunts. Other tools include service directories, weather forecasts, park news, user views, special deals, and more. So he doesn't want to take the place of the Disney app. That's not what he's saying. It's just an assist, so it helps out a little bit more, and it's a really neat idea. So if you guys, David, hold on, I will send you an invitation right now. So what it is it's just an assist, so you can wow, where'd that go? Let me send something really quick to David Lesjak. I'm gonna have David Lesjak join me here, guys. Let's see. Let me get the email I have. I get emails all the time. No, you didn't fluster me, David. I was flowing, and I have your email. See, and now I lost it. I'm in the middle of something. Send me your email real quick, David, and I will I'll send you the invitation really quick. But yeah, it's a really cool idea, and I hope you guys will look at it. I will post it on the page, and you guys can take a look at it. But it's something that I think is just a really, really neat idea. There's many times I've wanted to know why people are in line for something, and okay, and I didn't know what they were in line for, and so now you will know. But anyways, so David, you should have your invite right now. Some other things I wanted to talk to you guys about. Oh, I want to talk about, okay, so about 3 weeks ago, we went to an amazing birthday party for Matt McKim. If you guys don't know, he is Sam McKim's son. And I'm sure most of you know who Sam McKim is, the great Sam McKim. Well, Matt McKim is just an amazing guy. I asked him even before I mentioned if I could talk to him about this. So his 60th birthday party was recently when we were in LA, and there was a bakery, the Lincoln Bakery. It's a family-owned bakery since 1996. Guys, if you have any needs for cupcakes, for cake pops, for custom cakes, Tony and his daughter Yaneli, they make fresh pan sweetbread every day. Definitely check them out. It's called Lincoln Bakery, 2415 West Lincoln Avenue, number G. It's in Anaheim. Here's the number, 714-213-4030. Definitely, this was the best cake. And if you guys have looked on the page, if you guys saw the invitation or me telling you that I was going to be on Facebook Live, you see the cake that they made. And this was like a last minute cake. They were just incredible. Prices are amazing. Let them know you found them here, just walk in and say, hey, we saw you guys' cakes, and Vince talked about it on Disney Antiquities and Collectibles. And, so I definitely, want you guys to go by there. Yaneli was amazing. They opened up the shop early for us to come get the cake. Some of you know the story about the candles with me at Downtown Disney. That was fun, being detained. But anyways, hi guys. I hope everybody's having a good Tuesday night. But let me see. I've got David. Did you try Walt Disney Research at yahoo.com? Okay. I'm going to try sending you another invitation, David. But yeah, definitely. Lincoln Bakery, you guys. They are incredible. I hope you will think of them if you're having a birthday party or something in the future, to be able to go to them and get what you need. Walt Disney Research. There we go. Okay. All right. So that's coming in. Hopefully you get that one, David. I hope. So anyways, a couple other items. April 16th, I wanted to ask, because I'm going to Disneyland April 16th for Disney After Dark. My first time Disney After Dark, Star Wars night. I'm truly, truly excited, but I got to ask, because I was just given this recently. How do you guys walk around with these things? What are you supposed to do? How do you store them? Any idea? How do you carry them? How do you go on the rides with them? Just let me know. I love this thing. It's Vader's, as you can plainly see. But so Disney After Dark. Tell me, guys, how do you do it? Please, by all means, because I'm just curious. It's one of these things I'm like going, okay, can you cosplay? Can you, can you dress up? Cosplay, of course. Your lightsaber. I hear everybody, they gather everybody together and they put their lightsabers in the night in the sky. But April 16th is your 50th birthday. That's okay. That's pretty cool. My birthday is April 14th, so we share a birthday. Well, close to a birthday. So, but anyways, let me see who is here. Robbie Von Roll. That's right. You and me talked. That's right. That's your. But anyways, okay. So tell me in the comments, how do you guys carry your lightsabers? You know, can you cosplay? Tell me all these things. Let me know, because I'm going to be at Disneyland that day, and then Disneyland night, and then Disneyland again all day the next day. So I am going to be Disneyland overload. But anyways, David, there you are. Let's bring you on. Everybody, this is David Lesjak. If you don't know him, incredible historian, collection like you would not believe. So, and here he is. David.
Hello.
You, friend?
Good,
How's
good.
your night
Can you hear
going?
me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. How you doing?
I'm good, good. Thank you. How about you?
Not too bad. I'm glad you showed up. David's another reason why, you know, he's another part of the subject. But you know what? While I've got you, I'm going to start, you know, we're going to kind of do a little bit of a podcast while you're here. All these things. So these stories, we've talked so much, and these stories about collecting in Disney. And guys, if you haven't seen his collection, you need, tell them your group, David. I give way to you. Tell them your group so they will go to it.
Hi, everyone. If you're not a member, you might want to check out Vintage Disney Collectibles on Facebook. I've got about 26,000 members, and we share only pre-1967 Disney history and Disney artifacts. That's the focus of my group.
And guys, if you haven't seen this stuff between him and Gus and Mel Burkrant, Matt Crandall, the things that they post are incredible. Like, I sit there and my mouth is dropped. So many people go, have you seen what they posted? You know, and I know they get busy, but sometimes they post what they have in our group, and I'm amazed. Are you able to store everything at your house? Do you know, how is it on display, or do you have storage units? I mean, how do you do that?
No, I've got a lot of the collection is in Rubbermaid totes, and a lot of the collection is stored in archival material, so archival binders, archival cardboard boxes, archival envelopes and folders, that sort of thing. And then we've got a big display case just over here in our living room, and I don't know, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 shelves in it, and it gets filled up depending on our whimsy. I had a Christmas display up for 2 years. It was all 1930s Disney Christmas items. So Santa Claus premiums, magazines, greeting cards, corporate greeting cards, Hallmark, Hall Brother cards, Christmas lights, stickers, wrapping paper. It goes on and on, just anything 1930s Disney Christmas related. Right now I have a Disney World War II exhibit on display. So it's some of my favorite Disney World War II items. I can go pull out a couple of pieces and show you if you want. Show everybody out there,
please, by all means, because you know, the people that are here, definitely. You guys, if you haven't seen his collection, if you haven't seen part of it, definitely, it's amazing. His 30s collection of Christmas cards, of paper, of everything he just talked about, it's stunning. And you know, you wonder how this stuff survived almost 100 years, and it's collectors like David and Gus and Mel Burkrant that, you know, they take care of these things, and, you know, they're able to show them, and, you know, hopefully that history is never lost. You know, understand that history is so important to Disney and the start. So anyways, here's David. I turn the floor over to David.
So I've got my magic archival gloves on, because I actually don't like touching my stuff. I don't like handling it. I like looking at it, but I don't like handling it. So this is a really rare item.
Wow.
So this is a World War II British gas mask container that children would have had during the Blitz in London in 1941. So we've got Mickey Mouse putting on his gas mask, and he's saying, you know, boo oo. And then one of the nephews, ooh-er. And another nephew, it's only Uncle Mickey. And then the last
Wow.
nephew, he's a
It's a
bear.
bear. He's a
This
bear.
would have been the canister that children, and it's missing a strap holder here, but there's a strap holder here on this side that you can see, and there would have been a string, and then on the inside, it would have held the child's gas mask.
And they carried that with them at all times, right? The
They would have
children.
carried this in 1941. They would have carried this around London
Yeah.
in case that there was an air raid.
Wow.
So there's about 10 of these known to exist. It was a licensed item. There is a copyright marking on one of the edges here. You can't really see it, but there's a copyright marking along the edge there. It was made by an English company called Happy Knack, and it was only made in 1941. Happy Knack made a lot of tin toys, a lot of lithographed tin toys like sand pails, sand shovels, tea sets, that sort of thing. There's about 10 or 12 of these known to exist at this time. Mine is, I think, probably in about the third best condition of the ones that I know of. I've had it for a long time. I bought it off eBay many, many years ago when you could still find deals on eBay. So,
go ahead. Yeah, no, go grab.
You want me to grab another piece?
Yeah, grab as many as you want, because as long as I've got you, which is a rarity. It's a rarity because either I'm at work or you're at work. Whatever you want to show, I definitely want the group to see, because your collection, my friend, is stunning. Okay. So he's getting more from his collection, guys. But, again, he and I don't know if he's going to want to talk about this, but I'm going to say it really quick. He was supposed to have a corner of the Disney Family Museum with his display. His collection was that incredible. He was working with Diane Disney before she passed away. And so that collection was just, it's still incredible. And it deserves to be in a museum. It really should. After Diane passed away, I guess a lot of things, I don't know the specifics, but, David wasn't able to display a lot of his stuff. We are hoping to work with the Hilbert Museum, hopefully in the future, to display his stuff. Mary Platt, if you're out there. Anyways, go ahead, David, back to you.
This is an interesting item.
Pay your income tax.
So it's Donald Duck, and it's Playthings Magazine. So Playthings Magazine was a magazine of the toy trade. It came out every month. And starting in 1932, when Disney's merchandising rep Kay Kamen came onto the scene, he would buy the front covers and do an advertisement. So he would advertise just Disney characters in general, or something themed, or he would be promoting the latest feature or film. But he almost always had the cover of Playthings Magazine with some sort of a Disney advertisement. Now, during the war, the Disney studio produced 2 income tax films for the Treasury Department to try to convince Americans it was their duty to pay income tax. And so this was one of the promotions that they did. There's a Liberty magazine that has a similar illustration on it, which I don't have out on display right now. It's a little bit different. On the Liberty magazine one, it features Donald Duck and Dumbo and Timothy Mouse, and Mickey Mouse is on there as well. And what's interesting is on here, it lists Donald Duck is listing Walt Disney as his dependent, which is sort of humorous.
Very much so.
Do you like drinking beer?
Do you like beer? Who doesn't like beer? Robbie Von Roll, here you go.
I don't like beer, actually. I'm one of the few people that doesn't like the taste of beer. But if they served up a bottle of beer,
wow!
Here's a Victory beer bottle from about 1942-ish, made by a brewery in Detroit called Kopitz. And on there is a Disney combat insignia from World War II. It's a mosquito riding a torpedo for the Mosquito Fleet. And this was like the second or third insignia that was designed at the studio during the war. I think it was number 2, and it was designed in 1940. But during the war, Kopitz did this brand of beer called Victory Beer, and they had about 100 different labels, and there's only 3 Disney labels out of the 100. Everything else was just sort of a generic, a farm tractor, or Uncle Sam, or something like that. So to my knowledge, this is the only stubby that I've ever seen for sale. And then I've seen one with a long neck for sale. And then I've seen a couple of the labels that have been taken off the bottles. I've got a label for one of the other bottles. So I've got representations of 2 out of the 3. I've got another label, and then I've got this actual bottle. This is the only bottle that I've ever seen. I've never seen another example of this ever. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, but this is the only one that I've ever seen. So it's exceptionally rare as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that third bottle. How long have you been tracking that third bottle? Because I know you want to complete that collection.
Yeah, I've been looking for a long time, so never been able to find it. But that's the thrill of the hunt, right?
Yeah,
that's the thrill of the hunt. And I think that's one thing that draws me to all of this. I love the history. I always say that an object is just a thing until you discover the history and then write about it and share it. Yeah. And that's the way that I view everything in my collection. I love the hunt I love the hunt for the artifact, but I like just as much writing about it and then sharing what I've discovered.
Yeah.
And especially the World War II stuff. Not a lot of people are familiar with the myriad of things that the Disney studio did during the war. They did 5 propaganda films. They did 2 films for the income tax department. They did about 85 training films for all different branches of the military. They designed well over 1,200 combat insignia for not only American units, but Canadian units, South African units, British units, Polish units, Chinese units. It was a real breadth that they did insignia for.
Yeah.
And they did just a ton of stuff for the home front. So they did everything from bond promotions, victory gardens, food rationing, gas rationing, salvage drives. So it was a pretty incredible time at the studio. I've got items that cover all of those different genres. Like I've even got in June of 1942, the studio was declared a war plant because of all of the top secret stuff that they were starting to develop for the military, the training films and stuff. Like they did training films on the Norden bomb site, on torpedo guidance systems, on lots of topics on aircraft fighter tactics by Jimmy Thatch, who was an ace out of the South Pacific. He came and did about 8 different films at the studio. So what's really neat is I have an interoffice memo from June of 1942 that's telling staff to come down to the theater to get their pictures taken for their little government ID badges. And then I also managed to find one of those little ID badges. So I've got the memo saying come and get it done. And then I've got the actual ID badge of a fellow that worked in the cutting department, in the editing department. He started at the studio in I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he started at the studio in 1938. And I think he left in the late 50s or early 60s. But his pin came up for sale in an auction. And the auctioneer had it identified wrong. They said that it belonged to T.E. Harper because that was the name that was written on the back of the pin. But on the back of the pin, it was just a logo sort of sticker that said, you have to wear this pin at all times. You're governed by the Secrets Act and all that sort of stuff. And then it was signed T.E. Harper. Well, T.E. Harper was actually the guy that was in charge of security at the studio. So I wrote to the auctioneer and I said, that pin didn't belong to T.E. Harper. It belonged to somebody else. So the pin was up at like about $150 or something. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how much am I going to spend to try to get this? So the auctioneer took it down. So instead of correcting the information, they took the item down. And then about a week later, they relisted it. But when they relisted it with the corrected information that I had given them, nobody else bid on it. So I got it for like $20. So I don't know why all these other people that had seen it before weren't bidding on it the second go around, because I fully expected that, because all the auctioneer did was just change it and say, okay, it didn't belong to T.E. Harper. T.E. Harper signed it because he was the head of security at the studio at the time.
Wow.
So
the right place at the right time. Right place at the right time.
So I've got stuff like that. I've got a fantastic Christmas bulletin board announcement that went up in 1940. And it's where Walt and Roy are saying, come on over to Victor's and have a drink on us. It's Christmas time. But, it says Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And then it says, oh, what the hell? Come on over to Victor's and have a drink. Well, printed in the background, it's a white background, and then it's got green writing. And all the green writing is all the negative headlines from the war, because, the war started in September of 1939. America didn't enter until Pearl Harbor. But there was a whole bunch of stuff that had happened before America entered. So, France fell, the lowlands fell, Pinocchio was performing poorly at the box office. There was labor strife. Like, it was all negative headlines. And that's why it says
Yeah.
at the bottom, "Oh, what the hell? Come on over to Victor's and have a drink on us." So let me grab a couple more things for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. While
As long
David
as you
does
have
that,
the time.
yo, yeah, definitely have time. Um, Guys, again, another thing I wanted to talk about was the Hilbert Museum. I was touching on it briefly. If you get a chance when you're in Disneyland, LA, go by the Hilbert Museum at Chapman University. Their display is now open for Mary Blair. We are trying to get as many people over there as possible to take a look. It's a stunning Mary Blair collection, and it's curated by Mary Platt, who was able to give me a tour a few weeks ago. Amazing lady, so knowledgeable. The museum, you guys are going to love it. You know, when you get over there, it's free. It's absolutely free. So go over there, look around, buy some books. I bought a couple of books over there. There was one book in particular. It's Disney art, and I love it. So definitely check it out. And walking the halls, you may find Mark Hilbert, who the museum is named after, him and his wife. So definitely get over there and check that out. I'm not sure how long the Mary Blair is going to be up for. I know it's going to be a while. It just came up the end of February. So, but David is back. What do you have to show us right now, David?
Ooh, some treasures.
Ooh,
Some
treasures,
treasures
guys.
from
You
the
get
vault.
that? He's opening the vault tonight, guys.
If anybody has any questions while we're talking, let me know.
Yeah, guys, if you have questions, feel free to shout them out, or at least, write them out, and I'll ask David.
Just waving at my son. He just walked by. So the studio didn't just do things for the American home front. Like, so for the Canadian government, they did a saving stamp folder that's got Mickey stirring this giant cauldron, and Donald Duck is feeding logs onto it. So Mickey's standing on a British lion, and he's stirring this big cauldron. And what it was, the cauldron says war savings, and Donald's logs say bonds. So he's throwing bonds on the fire, which result in war savings, so that the government could fund the military. Yeah. And what's really neat is you could go to the post office, and you could buy a savings stamp, and you would put the savings stamp in this tri-fold folder. And then once you had enough savings stamps saved up, 10 cents, 5 cents, 25 cents, you could turn that folder in and get a bond in the equivalent price. Wow. So the Disney studio in 1941 did the illustration for the Canadian Treasury Department to illustrate the savings folder, to encourage Canadians to contribute to the war effort by buying bonds.
Yeah.
So here's an item. That's sort of cool.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So this is an Australian puzzle put out by the John Sands Company in the 1940s during the war. And so, you've got Mickey waving the British ensign, and you've got Donald Duck waving the American flag, and both are dressed up in military uniform. Yeah. So this is super rare. There's 4 different puzzles that have a war theme that came out in Australia during the war, and I've got 2 of them. The other one is based on almost sort of the cover of the Victory March book, if anybody is familiar with that. It's sort of based on the cover of the Victory March book, but it was an Australian puzzle. There's another one based on the cartoon Donald's Decision, where Donald is fighting with the devil and the angel about whether or not he should go donate blood. Yeah. And then there's another one that depicts the big bad wolf as a Nazi, and he's sneaking up on the thrifty pig's house. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I love that one. That's, yeah. Donald throwing the tomato.
There's Donald Duck throwing a tomato in Hitler's face, and that's based on the Donald Duck short cartoon, Der Fuhrer's Face. But you'll notice here, that was the original name of the cartoon, Donald Duck in Naziland. That was the original name of the cartoon. So these are fairly plentiful. But if you're going to collect these, what you're going to look for is this one, because this was the first printing. After the film actually came out under the title Der Fuhrer's Face, they got rid of the Naziland reference on the cover of the sheet music. So you'll see two different versions of the sheet music. One that references the original title of the film, and then they get rid of it, and then you'll just see DeFuhre's face. Ward Kimball did this illustration.
I thought, yeah, I remember somebody telling me that was Ward Kimball's. Do you know when they switched over, when they took it out, what year they took it out? Because
no,
wasn't too
I think
long
it would have
after,
been
right?
fairly quickly, because I think this came out sort of in advance of the film. Like, it was a huge hit song sensation, and there were radio stations that were playing that music. You know, we'll play the record by Spike Jones and his City Slickers if you pledge $5 towards a war bond.
Yeah.
So then the song was being, played constantly, and the record company that put out the record, they couldn't keep up with the orders because there were so many people requesting the record.
Yeah. Wow.
So if you think that DeFuhre's face item is cool, then you might like this item.
Yeah. Yep. That's at the Disney Family Museum as well, correct?
Not this one, no.
No?
So this is the actual exhibitor's manual, and I don't really want to open it up, but it folds out really big, and it's got information on how to publicize the film. So this would have been sent to theater managers, and it was basically a promotional campaign book. This is how you can advertise the film. Here's some sample newspaper ads. Here's some maps to use in the advertising in the movie section. Here's some sample radio scripts. Here's some things that you can do at the theater to generate interest in the film. So this was the publicity manual that would have been sent to theater managers. There's only, to my knowledge, 2 of these known to exist at this time. So this is a fairly rare item.
Wow.
And then on the back, it actually shows the poster, and then some of the black and white window lobby cards that you could get to advertise the film.
You have, I thought you showed me some. You have some of the lobby cards, don't you?
No, not for this film. I don't. No.
Who? Let me see.
No,
Somebody,
I remember I've seen some of these come up for sale, but they're usually several $100s. Like, they're out of my price range. They're very, very expensive. Neat story about this. A friend of mine in Seattle belongs to an NFFC chapter in Seattle called the Mountaineers. A guy approached the group and said, I've got all this movie publicity stuff because when I was a kid, I befriended a theater manager, and every time a Disney film came out, he kept all of the publicity manuals and he gave them to me. So he had publicity manuals from Dumbo, Pinocchio, DeFuhre's face. Like, he had lots, and he had lobby cards. And then people were like, oh, I'll buy it from you for X amount of money. How much do you want for it? And then one of my friends, Greg Heberling, got involved. And I said to Greg, I said, you need to contact this movie poster dealer, because that's where this gentleman, he was an elderly gentleman. I said, that's where he's going to get the most value for what he has. I said, he has some super, super, super rare item. He had a publicity manual for Bambi. The list was endless. He had lots. And so what they did was they contacted this guy that I put them in touch with. They put him up for auction, and he made a fortune. He made a small fortune at the auction because his stuff was so rare and in such nice condition. Like, even the auctioneer said the DeFuhre's face was only like the second or third one. I think mine is the third one. So what the guy did was he had 2 of the DeFuhre's face ones, and he told Greg, because I recommended that they go to this dealer to get the maximum money, he gave me that DeFuhre's face publicity manual as a way of saying thank you. Yeah,
that's cool.
I thought that was the neatest thing ever, because I think when it came up for sale, it sold for $650 or $750, some insane amount.
Yeah.
So I think mine is the third one that's known to exist, but 2 of them have come from the same guy. So, and if you think that's really neat, how about this one?
Wow. Oh my gosh, Dispatch. That's right around the same time, is that right?
So this is 1943. This was the newsletter that the studio sent to staff that were serving in the military. And so it's actually got a pinup gatefold in it as well of half-naked Freddie Moore girls, milk call girls. So it's got a nudie pinup in here as well. But this was the newsletter. It's soft cover. It's multiple pages. There's an introduction letter from Mickey, from Walt, from Roy. There's some short articles that tell you some of the films that they're working on at the time. One was Education for Deaf. There's caricatures of some of the artists. On the back, it's got combat insignia that the studio had done.
That's I don't know. Do you want to tell the story about the pinup? Is that okay, or is that kind of want to leave that out?
All I'll say is that Diane faced some blowback from the company when she wanted to include it in an exhibit in the War Gallery, Gallery 6 at her museum. And my understanding, there was somebody at the company that didn't want it on display, and she basically overrode them and said, "There's nothing wrong with it. It's innocent. It's a piece of my father's, history from World War II, so we're going to keep it."
Yeah.
And it was kept, and it's still, to my knowledge, it's still on display, or a facsimile of it's on display. They still have. Last time I had somebody check for me, which wasn't too long ago, they have about I lent them about 48 items. That's why Diane brought me on. She called me a consultant on special projects, but I was just there to do whatever she wanted me to do. And the main reason was they didn't have anybody that had, I guess, the knowledge that I had on the studio's involvement in World War II. So my friend Jeff Curdy, who was one of the 3 creative consultants who helped the family design the museum, it was him and Paula Sigmund Lowry, who used to work at the Disney Archives, and then Imagineer Bruce Gordon. They were the 3 main people that were working with the family, and then the other museum developers to come up with the concept, what to include, the flow of the museum, that sort of thing. So he actually recommended me to Diane because he knew my knowledge on 30s Disney history and Disney World War II history. So it was pretty cool. And in August of that year, I think it was 2008 or 2007, Jeff wrote to me and said, "Be prepared, Diane's going to send you an email." And so, I'm an excitable guy sometimes, and my wife is going, calm down, it's always fine, And I got the email, and it was just a really sweet email. She said, "Hi, David. I'm Diane Disney Miller. Myself and my son and husband, the family, we're putting together this museum in San Francisco on the grounds of the Presidio. Jeff has shared a lot of information about you with me and your knowledge of my father's company in the 30s and specifically World War II. Ron and I and Walter Elias Disney Miller would like you to come down. We'd like to meet with you, show you what we're doing, and see if you want to be part of the project." I laughed to myself, and it's like, I said to myself, it's like, you don't have to fly me down. The answer is yes. I don't even have to meet you. The answer is just yes.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. Now, the downside of it was I got a phone call at the airport saying that they were canceling the meeting because Bruce Gordon passed away. He died of a heart attack. I think it was 1 or 2 days before I was going to come down. So they canceled the meeting, but I got a phone call from Walter, and Walter said, "You know what, we still want you to come down. We still want to meet with you. We still want to show you what we're up to. We want to show you the museum under construction, et cetera, et cetera." So it was really cool. She flew me down, and I got to spend 2 or 3 days with her, and her and Ron, they took me to the original museum, which was in a wooden building on Gorgas Avenue, which was on the grounds of the Presidio. And it had a lot of stuff on display. There was the Lily Bell, there was the World War I ambulance, there was cases filled with awards. There was, I can't remember how many, but there was probably about 24 of Walt's Academy Awards on display in these 2 big, huge cabinets. They were just, standing in front of them, looking at them. And then Diane sort of saddles up to me and says, "What do you think?" And I said, I'm just gobsmacked. I'm awestruck looking at these. And then I went up and started looking at them, and I said, "This is the one from Der Fuhrer's Face." I said, "Your father won this for Best Short Cartoon in 1943. And we just started talking about the cartoon. So anyhow, and then they took me, what was really, really cool was they took me over to the building that was under construction where the museum is currently housed. And what was really cool is, they've got the blueprints in their hands, and then we're walking around. It's just this big construction zone. And we climbed up the scaffolding to go up onto the roof. And, I'm standing there on the roof looking out at the Golden Gate Bridge. But it was really neat. We come around this corner. And so they're telling me, this is Snow White, and this is Pinocchio, and this is the Strike. And then we come around the corner, and Ron he puts out his arm, and he says, "And David, this is your part of the museum." I almost melted. Melted. It was just the most amazing.
That's surreal.
I get a little teary-eyed thinking about it. But
that's surreal.
It was so cool for him to say that. And he said, "This is your area of the museum, and this is what you're going to be in charge of." And
You weren't
so,
expecting that, were you? You weren't expecting that at all.
no, not at all. Like they just that was a curveball that I was not expecting, and I was overcome, and I still am when I tell that story.
Yeah.
It was just an amazing experience to hear Ron Miller say, "And David, this is your part of the museum." He goes, "This is where we're going to have 3 display cases, and it's up to you to figure out the design and the content of these 3 cases."
Wow.
And
Your
so
mind went into overdrive, didn't it?
yeah, so what was really interesting was later that night, we went for a walk in the neighborhood, and just a few blocks down the hill from where they lived, they had a penthouse apartment on Russian Hill, which was just, when I visited them. So the way it was supposed to be is I was supposed to go to the hotel and then go to a meeting the next day. Because the meeting had been canceled, they invited me that day when I flew in to take the limousine. They had a limousine for me, take the limousine from the airport right to their penthouse apartment on Gorgas. So I show up, and the doorman buzzes me in, and then he phones up to Diane and says, "Yeah, send him up." So I get in the elevator, he puts in his key, and up to the 16th floor I go. And when I got off the elevator, you turn the corner, and there were these doors that were open, and they were the biggest freaking doors I've ever seen. They were like 12 feet tall, and each door was probably 6 foot wide, and they're wide open. And I sort of meekly knock on the door, and I hear this voice say, "Coming." And then around the corner, there's Diane. And she goes, "David." And I said, "Diane." And she comes up to me and she gave me this big hug. And then she goes, "Come on in, come on in." And I remember down one side of this big long hall was all Japanese art prints, art block prints from 1700s or 1800s. And then I can't remember what was on the other wall. And then at the end, it sort of came into this little rotunda that had a wall on the backside, and there was a live tree. And on that wall was sort of some contemporary California artwork that was done in sort of pastel colors. It was really beautiful. And then before we start to walk down the hall, Ron Miller comes bounding around the corner. He goes, "David, good to finally meet you." And I'm 6 feet tall, and I think Ron was about 6'4", so he towered over me. And
Yeah.
he was a football player, right? So he's got a pretty firm grip. So I put out my hand to shake his hand, and I've got a really firm grip myself. But God, he almost squeezed my hand off. That's how firm his grip
Yeah.
was. And he goes,
Yeah.
"Welcome, welcome." So we start to walk down this little hallway to get to their living room, and then Ron Miller pops around the corner, and he goes, "Would you like a glass of wine?" I said, "I'd love one." And Diane goes, "Yeah, this is from our winery, Silverado, in the Napa Valley." And I said, "I'd love a glass of wine." But it was really cool. She had me down about 4 or 5 or 6 times. I think it was about 5 or 6 times. And then my next meeting, when I came down, I sent them down a catalog showing them everything that I had that I would be willing to lend out. And then when I met up with them, I met with the design team, and we were doing the layout of the 3 display cases, like what should go where and how are we going to do this. And then they put in the order for, we sort of came up with a finalized plan for the layout and the story that we wanted to tell. And then they had a professional museum freight company. I packed everything up, and I put it in special boxes. And then they came and they put it in a specialized wooden box, and off to San Francisco it went. And she invited me down for the preview. So I attended 2 preview parties, and it was really cool to see my stuff on display for that very first time.
Yeah.
And then she had me down one time. I did a seminar, a guest presentation on the history of her father's Hyperion studio. So It was like a PowerPoint sort of 200 slide presentation where I had original photographs, and it's going to be the topic of one of my books. So myself and the team that I had working with me, my research team, they discovered about 70 building permits for the Hyperion site. And so we were I've got schematic diagrams that show the development of Hyperion from when they bought the first plot of land in 1925 to when they moved in 1940. So my idea for the book is to go year by year. So starting in 1925 and show a map of where the building was. Like I've got a schematic of the neighborhood, and I show you where their first building was on what lot. And then the next year they did this edition, and the year after that they did this edition, and the year after that they did this edition. So I'm showing you how the physical plant grew from 1925 to 1940 when they moved out. And I'm telling you in the book, I'm having Walt and his artists tell you what they were doing at that point in time. So it's not me telling you the story of the very first time that they screened Steamboat Willie, the silent version, and they're all doing the the noises with the noisemakers and, all that sort of thing. I have Walt and Ub Iwerks and Wilfred Jackson. I have those guys telling you the story of what happened that night. And I do that throughout the whole book. So it's like exactly like they've done at the museum. I'm using Walt's voice and the voice of the artist to tell you the history of the studio. So what I do is at the beginning of the chapter, I'll show you, you'll see in one color the buildings that existed. And then that year, you'll see in a different color the buildings that were added. And then because I've got copies of all the building permits, I can tell you, how many square feet was added, how much it cost, when it was built, and then ultimately what it was used for. And then I have the artist telling you what they were doing at that point in time. So this is the year we used color. This is the year we went from gags to personality animation. This is the year that we started doing moviolas and storyboards. And this was the year, that the publicity department started up and the comic strip started up. And this is where they were located. This is where the background department was. And then I've got it. So you see the whole development of the property. And then you know exactly what's going on that year and where all of that. So this is where the model department was located. This is where the ink and paint department was located. This is where the in-betweeners were located. So I talk about year by year the innovations that they were doing. But again, it's told through their eyes, not me. I'm not the narrator. It's them telling their own story. And then I've got lots of historical pictures that have never been seen before, or they haven't been seen since they were published back in the 1930s. So I show you the music rooms, Bert Lewis's music room and Wilfred Jackson's music room. And I've got pictures of the story department. I've got pictures of Hyperion under construction that haven't been really seen anywhere. Yeah, so I've got a lot of that sort of stuff. And then I've got all the related ephemera that goes with it. Like, I'm going to sprinkle it with, trade magazine advertisements or, interesting bits of paper that I've been able to accumulate or find along the way. That's going to illustrate it besides the photographs. And then you've got the schematic diagrams that start every chapter. I've been working on this book for probably 12 years, and I'm nowhere near finished. Nowhere near.
Yeah,
finished.
I was gonna ask you, do you see the end in sight, or it could just keep going, couldn't it?
No, because my problem is I'm like a crow, okay? And so the internet has been a boon and a bane, I guess is the opposite to boon and a bane to me, because I'll go online and I'll be doing some research. So I'll go to, archive.org or the LA Public Library photo library. I'll go find some university or whatever. I'll find something that I'm looking for, but then I start researching other things. I'll start researching KK-Man, or I'll start researching, I'll type in all these keywords. And then I go down this road at that archive of finding 100,000 other things that are really interesting. And so
down the rabbit hole.
I think my wife says, like, I'm like a crow. I see a shiny object over here and I go for it. Oh, but then there's a shiny object over here. I got to go check that out. Oh, but look, there's another one over here. I've got to go check that out. So I have a really hard time sometimes focusing. I've been working on my Hank Porter book for several years now. And I'm, bless him, my youngest son, he keeps bugging me about, Dad, you're going to get this thing done. It's time to you've been working on this for lots of years. You say you're going to wrap it up. And so, I'm publishing it through the Hyperion Historical Association, which is headed by Didier Getz. And there's a lot of top tier Disney staffers, as well as researchers and writers that are part of that group. And so they're allowed to publish so many books per year with the company's blessing. And so with my Hank Porter book, it's been authorized by the company, and I can include 150 photographs of artwork that Hank Porter created when he was at the studio. Walt Disney called Hank Porter a one-man art department. So he started at the studio in 1936, and within a couple of years after Tom Wood died, he was basically the de facto leader of the publicity and promotions department. And so he did the corporate Christmas cards, he did the Pinocchio newspaper strip, he did the Snow White newspaper strip, he did fan cards, he did Good Housekeeping pages, he did the covers for magazines like Rexall and Western Living. He did presentation artwork that Walt Disney gave to visiting dignitaries. He did the artwork for internal publications like the annual report, the restaurant menu. He was such a skilled draftsman. He could draw every single character on model, and his mind was just so. He had such an imagination. Like, he designed 80% of the 1200 combat insignia to come out of the studio. He did most of the stuff on the home front. He did the fan cards for, Make Mine Music and and Song of the South and all these other cartoons. He designed most of the movie posters that came out of the studio. He did a lot of specialty illustrations for magazines that were promoting the films as they were being released. So, I've been working on that book forever. But you know what? My father passed away, my mother-in-law passed away, and then I sort of got down in the dumps and I didn't feel like writing. And I went into a little bit of a depression, I think. And I just couldn't, I couldn't sit in front of the keyboard and do anything. And then that's when COVID started, what is it now, 4 years ago, I guess. So that's when the pandemic started. My whole work thing changed. They sent everybody home to work from home, which was fine. But then I got trained on a new position, which I wasn't thrilled about. So I was undergoing a big, turmoil in regards to COVID. I worried about my 3 kids going to school and my wife and, all that sort of stuff. So the book just sort of got shelved for 4 years. But the good news is I've been starting to work on it again, and it's gone through 1 copy edit already. And I'm about ready to send it off for another second copyright or copy editing. And then once that gets done, it goes to Disney, the Becky Klein at the archives, and the legal department takes a look at it. And then once they sign off on it, it can get published. I've already got most of the pictures picked out that I want to use. Some of the stuff is from my own collection. Some of the stuff is from the photo library at the studio. So once I get that finished, I would like to write a book on Kay Kamen. I've got a file folder on my desktop that has almost 1,700 research items related to Kay Kamen. Mainly magazine articles, newspaper articles, publications that he put out, letters that he's written, sales things that he sent out to retailers. I'd like to do a book on him. I'd like to do.
That's one I would definitely look forward to, is the KK.
Yeah, and then I want to do my Hyperion book as well. So and then I actually was fortunate. I interviewed the sailor that took Walt and his family up the coast of my province. So if folks don't know, I live in a suburb of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, which is about 2.5 hours north of Seattle, Washington. Well, Walt and his family came up here in October of 1966 on a family vacation. Mm-hmm. And I was able to locate the skipper of the yacht that took the family up the coast of my province for 2 weeks. And so I was able to interview him for about 3 hours. And so that story went that Walt Disney was the Calgary Stampede. He was the Grand Marshal of the Calgary Stampede. And the guy that was the chairman of the Calgary Stampede, Max Bell, he was a multimillionaire. He was an oil baron and a newspaper baron. Anybody that was the Grand Marshal of the parade, he would offer them the use of his yacht. Now, his yacht was just an absolutely drop-dead gorgeous yacht. You would expect a millionaire's yacht to be, but it was just an absolutely drop-dead gorgeous yacht. It had teak and mahogany, and it was just spectacular. Yeah. So he offered it to Walt, and Walt said, "Well, I'll take it, but I don't want to take it for free. I want to pay you." And Max was adamant, "No, you can have it for free. It's my gift to you." And Walt said, "No, I want to pay for it." So he ended up paying about $600 a day to rent this yacht, and him and his family, all of Diane and Ron and Sharon and Bob and all the kids, they went up on this trip for 2 weeks. So it was really neat because this skipper had the logbook for the boat, and he was able to tell me everywhere that they went, every channel, every inlet, every sand spit, every First Nations community they visited, where they went hiking, what trails they went on, where they dropped anchor, how many fish they caught. It goes on and on and on. So
real detail.
That's another thing that I want to publish eventually, but I just haven't figured out the format or how to go about it. I sort of wish that Diane and Ron were still alive, because I know that they would be thrilled, to hear these stories again, and it would rekindle their memories of, the last family vacation that they had together. And I'm sure that she would have given me access to the material at their museum, as far as photographs and things like that I could use. So I'm going to talk to Walter. I'm going to ask Walter if there's any chance that the museum would allow me a few photos at least to sprinkle in the book. We'll have to see what happens. But that's another project. I'd like to write a book on Disney combat insignia from World War II. The list is endless. Man. The list is endless. I need to win a lottery or find a very rich benefactor so I can retire, and then I can focus on my hobby, right?
Yeah, that's what you need. But, well, my friend, it's been an hour. That went by as quick as can be, but I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming in, because I love being able to talk to you and see these things. And actually getting to see you and meet you in person. So
Yeah.
thank you for showing up, and I'm glad you hung out with me for a little bit and showed some of the things you have.
There's a whole display case of at least 50 items in that display case that we haven't even seen yet. So
see, and that's what I want to. I want to have a regular podcast with you where we can sit down and just go over everything that you want to talk about. So
yeah, I've got
save that for the real one.
Yeah, I've got about 350 World War II items, and I have about 350 or so 1930s Mickey Mouse items, and then I have about 2 or 3 dozen original press photos of Walt from the 1930s. And then in my archive, I've got just over 8,000 magazine, newspaper, and journal articles related to pre-1945 Disney history. So whenever you're raring to go, I could talk your ear off all night.
Oh yeah, no, we're definitely gonna set that up. I definitely want to do a podcast with you completely, so
100%.
we can look at more items. But
100%.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you showing up. And again, everybody, Vintage Disney Collectibles, correct?
Absolutely, my friend. Okay, we'll talk soon. Good night, everyone. Have a good evening.
Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right, guys. That was the great David Leschak. So that was awesome. I'm going to schedule a podcast with him where he's showing you more things in the future. Again, state of what's going on with what I've got going for the podcast page. Erick Sosa. Some of you may know my friend Erick Sosa. He is world renowned. The statues that he's created for Mattel, Marvel, Disney, other properties. Erick has done some incredible things. I wanted you guys to know first here that he is going to be sculpting Disney statues, limited edition Disney statues. Right now, you can look at a video of what he's working on our webpage, on our Facebook page. Take a look. It doesn't look like anything. It looks like, just a video, but look up Erick Sosa's video. This is what he's working on. This is going to be the first statue that he's going to release, and we are going to be having it exclusively. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to be coming. Erick, again, he's been doing this for 31 years. He grew up love of Disney. He has got a statue of Wolverine that is, to this day, just the perfect statue. It's incredible. On the Disney Messenger page, you can see it. I posted it. That is one of the most sought after statues in the world. I used to collect, statues, 1/4, 1/2, 1/3. And this statue is it's perfect. Everybody says it's just the perfect Wolverine statue. So take a look. It's on the podcast chat. But anyways, another thing, thank you, John Canemaker. We were on the Millstone newsletter this month. They mentioned our podcast. So check it out if you get a chance. March 2024, Millstone newsletter. Let's see. And this weekend, I have got, maybe you guys know the name, Kevin Fagan, who does the cartoon strip Drabble. He is going to be on. He is a huge Disney fan. I'm going to get to talk to Kevin. He even took his honeymoon at Disney World. So the great Kevin Fagan that just celebrated 45 years. I'm sure most of you have seen Drabble, and if not, look that up. I've been looking at Drabble since I was a kid. I can remember my dad handing me the comics. I was 6, 7 years old, and I'd read Drabble and Hagar the Horrible and all these other Sunday comics. But Garfield, but definitely check that out. He is going to be with us this Sunday. And then lastly, I wanted to thank again Philo Barnhart, Terry Hardin Jackson, and Danny DeMeyer for the incredible podcast from Sunday. Had such a blast. Thank you. Can't wait to do it again soon. But again, you can feel free to message me, guys. If there's anything you would like to see or talk about, or Gayland, I saw you asked if I was going to be posting a link to Theme Park Watch. I am definitely going to post that link so you guys can take a look at it. Again, we're going to have virtual stash at Disneyland April 16th. April 16th is it's Star Wars night, Disney After Dark. I will definitely be there. Let me know if you're going to be there. Let's hang out. Let's get together. Let's put our lightsabers up in the air. So, anyways, on that note, may the force be with you guys. I will see you again real soon. Thank you. Take care, and have a great night. Bye-bye.